Yeah, good to go.
Hi and welcome to episode 24 of British Strength Radio. This year, as your hostess with the mostest, we've got Tanya George interviewing because as our interviewee, I've invited along Alexander Clarke to his very own podcast.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for having you on your podcast.
I really appreciate it.
That's good. I'm glad that you could join us. I'm sure everybody who's been listening to these podcasts has been listening to you and kind of knows who you are. You are the founder of British Strength magazine, but you're also what I would now class to be an elite British powerlifter. And I thought it's about time people found out a little bit more about you, how you got into lifting, what you enjoy about it, how you train, and maybe a little bit more background about why you got into setting up British Strength magazine.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when you first said it, I don't want to call it humility because I know a lot of people call themselves humble these days, but I think I've got this kind of maybe unnecessary shyness about, like, I hate promoting myself, and I prefer to just kind of hide behind the magazine and promote other people. Which I do, which I would prefer in a way, but on paper, yeah, but by the numbers, I'm a decent lifter, so I suppose no one's going to grumble at the fact that I'm on.
Who are you? No, I don't think so either at all. So just a little bit of background. Do you want to run through your current PBs so far?
Yeah, sure. So it was quite a while ago now. I hope I've not passed my peak, but my best total is 920 kilos in bare knees. That comprised of a 310 kilo, again bare knees squat, 227.5 kilo bench press, so in the 500 pound club, and a 382.5 deadlift.
Nice.
That's my best deadlift in a full meet, but my best deadlift in a comp in general was deadlift only, 385.
Okay, and where was that done?
The full meet was Northeast qualifier in the BPU.
Okay.
Just a qualifying comp for, because I wanted to do one really. I think it was about the right time. And the 385 was done at the Andy Bolton Deadlift Challenge when I won it, not last year. When I won it last year.
Oh, you won it, last year.
So, those are my PBs.
Okay, and when you started out, what were you deadlifting?
Funnily enough, I started out with you. Didn't I?
You did.
When I say with you, like with you as my coach, the way it started out was end of 2014, I believe. No, end of 2013.
No, so long ago.
Ages ago. I was a bodybuilder. We need the bodybuilding.
We do. We need a little bit, but okay. Well, let's reframe. How did you get into powerlifting?
Wow. So
we go. Give us a bit of background.
Bodybuilder for 6 years. I don't know whether you want me to go into that
now.
Yeah,
absolutely. Do it.
Okay, so started bodybuilding when I was 15 years old. I had kind of messed around with weights for a couple of years before that, since I was 13. I was in a cinema, and in the cinema were girls, obviously, and we're watching the Vin Diesel film Triple X. And I can't remember whether he was actually jacked or not, but to me as a 13-year-old, when he took his top off, he looked jacked. And all the girls in the cinema gasped. All the girls kind of immediately near me did. And then in my head as a 13-year-old boy, I thought, right, this is a secret.
This is what you have to do.
Literally, on a Sunday morning the next day, I was at the gym before it opened, so I was early for something.
No,
genuinely.
That was the first and last time that happened then.
Yeah, and I thought, it's not even open. I've wasted 20 minutes of my life waiting here, so I'm never going to do this again. Just be early for something. Get there either bang on time or late.
It's basically a rule of your life.
Well, it is. Why would you waste time, like, waiting about, like, when make someone else do it?
Fair enough.
No, I'm not serious about that. I
no, you are. I apologise to everyone that I'm always late for.
I apologise for all the hours of people's lives that I've wasted over the years. So I started training a little bit, and then obviously, no matter how much you think you research into something at the time, maybe you don't know the full ins and outs of it, and then you listen to too much of what your friends say, and if your friends say this is going to stunt your growth, and you're like 13 years old, and you're not as tall as you want to be yet, you're going to go, right, I better stop doing this then, but it's bullshit. Obviously, it doesn't, does it? But yeah, so I kind of trained on and off. And then when I was 15, I actually wanted to start powerlifting.
Okay, where did you see that? Can you remember that?
I didn't see it anywhere.
Oh.
Right, it was weird. I was watching... I never got fully into this, but I remember UFC used to be on Bravo, I think it was, at like 11 till 12 at night at weekends. So I was staying up watching that. And I remember, I've never told this story actually, it was Ken
You had the
Shamrock.
gift that keeps giving.
It was Ken Shamrock who was fighting, and it must have been Joe Rogan commentating. And he was like, this guy's 220 pounds and he can bench press 400 pounds or whatever. He probably can't, but I'm just making those numbers up. But I was like, yeah, so he's powerful, he's like functional. And I was more impressed by the physiques. I didn't really understand what was going on because it's quite complex, really, isn't it? The grappling and stuff that you watch. So I was like, all right, I want to get into powerlifting. Weirdly enough, that's what inspired me to get into powerlifting. Maybe, I don't know if you've heard of him, but a guy called Tank Abbott as well. I think he might have been on the card, and he was one of the UFC fighters who, physique-wise, definitely didn't inspire me, but he could bench press 600 pounds. And I was like, oh, this talk of big benching.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what I normally did those days, I wanted to find out something about something. I went to Waterstones, and I looked around for a book about it. Couldn't find anything on powerlifting. However, Arnold's Education of a Bodybuilder was there. That was the first one he did. Just had a look, and I was like, these physiques don't shock me. These physiques are pleasing to look at.
Okay.
Because obviously, like, I'd seen the 2005, I think it was at the time, British Grand Prix. I'd seen the Grand Prix.
Where Paul won.
Yeah, it was 2004, wasn't
2004.
it?
So were you still training there, or did you just go to the British Grand Prix?
No, I saw it on Sky Sports.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it must have been. They must have replayed it. And I'd looked at the physiques. I think like the guys were massive. Like the guys who Paul was competing against, they were like Ronnie Coleman and stuff.
Yeah,
I just couldn't comprehend
yeah.
it, and I was like, "Oh, that's disgusting."
So Paul said one of them was breathing on the back of his head.
Yeah, Marcus Rule
was breathing on the back of his head as he was walking, waiting to go on stage. It's like a horse stood behind him.
Yeah, they
horse,
looked
not a whore,
that
by the way.
They looked that freakish at the time to me, and I was just like, "Nah, I don't really want any part of that." Had I seen Paul, my opinion might have changed because he was a lot more pleasing, a lot more like the old style guys. But I saw Arnold. I saw some of Arnold's peers who had put in the book around that time, and I thought, yeah, this is what I want, because Arnold made it look appealing as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Obviously, you go back to me looking at Vin Diesel, the girls like Vin Diesel, the girls like Arnold. Okay, we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, you're still there. Yeah. Basically, you want it to be a film star.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
If I could talk.
If I wasn't so shy. Painfully shy.
Yeah, this is what I didn't factor into the whole equation the whole time. Your personality actually counts. So, yeah, I started bodybuilding. Like, I read the whole book in like 2 evenings after school. I was like fascinated. This was like me from then on. So started going to the gym, following his routine. It was one in Blakely, just on the very top floor of like what was then actually like a martial
so Blakely,
arts.
Manchester.
Yeah, Blakely, Manchester. It's called Blakely Health Studios. At the time, it was owned by Selvin Squire, it was just a martial arts place, but it had a gym, a little gym on the top. So I went there, and yeah, within, that was February 2005, and Jesus Christ, no, it must have been earlier than that, maybe the very start of 2005, and I think, did I compete in 2006? Oh God, this is you know when people get older, and they start to have problems.
Yes.
I'm starting to do it now. I think I competed in 2006. Yeah, because 2005 I was still in school, so I spent a year training. And then as of 2006, then I started competing. Did my first show in Pendle Valley, which is like a local Lancashire place, isn't it? They actually have a powerlifting venue there as well, didn't they? I didn't find out that till later on. I know GBPF do some stuff there.
Is that the Adlington barbell, or is there another one?
No, I've been there with Daz.
All right, okay.
Daz was competing there.
Sloan.
All
right. Just
and I think we caused the biggest ruckus of the day.
Excellent, well done.
I know, just by
being there,
just by making a few decibels, really, like just a normal level of excitement, like before someone lifts, and that was the biggest ruckus of the day.
Oh wow!
That was the most excitement of the day. Otherwise,
which is quite a feat.
Just like a library.
Yeah, quite a feat, to be fair, coming from you and Daz. But
yeah, to be fair, we're quite reserved chaps. But yeah, did my first show 2006 Pendle Valley. Believe it or not, IFBB Pro Nathan Deasha.
Okay.
Was in this. He did his first show, same class as me.
No.
Juniors. He was first. I was third. Believe it or not. But it was
at least you can say you came third to Nation.
Yeah. Like, so really, I transpose it onto the Olympia now. If he comes 7th, I would have come 9th, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's exactly
absolutely.
how it works.
Exactly.
So I can say all the bodybuilders who are like from 10th to 20th, I would have beat them.
You would have beaten them.
So yeah. And it was out of 6 guys, and that's where we kind of went on from there. I think I must have done like 10, 11, 12 shows while I was competing in bodybuilding. You've got probably a good take on how good I was. I had potential, but probably not as much as I do in powerlifting.
No, absolutely not. And I do remember us having a conversation.
Yeah.
That they were kind of a little bit later on, wasn't it? So we know you because you came in the gym to speak to Paul, didn't you? And then just ended up staying basically.
Yeah, I think I was a bit stubborn I think I was a bit blind to what people said down the years about that. Do you know what I mean? Like, and if I could have viewed myself more objectively, maybe I would have seen, I'm quite... And really, I only ever showed promise in the deadlift while I was bodybuilding. I never showed a huge promise in the squat or the bench, which is kind of now it's a protracted version of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've come up in both of them, but I only ever showed really promise in the deadlift when I was bodybuilding. But yeah, I did okay-ish. I mean, I got to the UK BFF British Finals, which for me felt like quite a hard thing to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean? It wasn't... I don't mean to disrespect powerlifters or strongmen or anything like that, but it feels a lot harder to qualify for a British Finals in bodybuilding when the UK BFF was the one to do.
Definitely. I think when you're talking about the years that you're talking about within the UK BFF, it was very, very difficult to qualify, and even winning your class didn't qualify you. If you didn't get an invite, then if they're like, yeah, you've won your class but you're not good enough, then you're not going. It's as simple as that.
If like Kerry Kays would say things on the microphone like, guy needs about 2 more weeks of dieting, then he might qualify.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I've
I've been sat in the audience watching really good bodybuilders get denied qualifications. So it
was never a given, was it? So for you to, it was a big show. The British Finals was massive.
Had a great atmosphere to it. I miss going down there. Do you know what I mean? Just had a really nice in Nottingham. I don't know whether they don't have it. It's not the same thing, is it now?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't follow it.
I don't follow it, but it's not the same. So yeah, I was 4th in the juniors there, under 21s, and when I went up to the intermediates, I was 5th. So I mean that kind of class is.
And what kind of stage weight were you?
106 was my heaviest that I competed at. I believe that as many, like in retrospect, if everything would have just been like, if the diets would have just been longer, more gradual, like just with the knowledge I have now, I think I could have been heavier and leaner.
Okay, fair enough.
Same weight, but leaner.
Do you think that this is sidetracking very, very slightly, that you're kind of post old school, really, aren't you? So where they were kind of like, they would just get the head down, diet, do the cardio, and there were no real no one really spoke about any kind of shortcuts, or everyone kind of got. But then people, do you think people were kind of looking at quicker ways of doing it with less cardio and less dieting but shorter diet? So someone would turn around and go, "Oh well, I only dieted for 12 weeks."
Yeah, which I think a lot of the pro bodybuilders did.
Some absolutely.
Did 8 weeks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
but
it's like
they were on chapter 400, and you were just turning over the first page.
And every week for them made a difference.
Yes.
Whereas like I'd have some weeks where I'd be like, "Fucking hell, I've been killing myself, and I'm not getting any leaner." Like, or it feels like it feels like you're killing yourself. Like your body's like, "Stop doing this. I am knackered. I don't want to get up out the chair. Never mind do cardio. I just don't have the carbs to do this." But yeah, I think what I got stuck between was I was trying to do what I should have done, but always too late. So then people who knew what I probably needed to do at that stage were like, "Look, you need to fucking diet way, 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 way harder right now."
Mm-hmm.
But I think the problem is, like, just to give you an example of like the very last comp I did, put myself on 50 grams of carbs a day for the last 5 weeks, 2 hours of cardio, and I think if you're behind sometimes, it just doesn't get the job done.
No,
I
you
think,
can't make up the time, can you?
No, and you end up just like, I know I hate everyone to make this excuse, but like losing a bit more muscle than you do fat, and it just doesn't look as good in the end.
Yeah.
Whereas if you would have done that, but maybe for just like 2 weeks, when your metabolism was already revved up, you would have had a dramatic effect. And if you would have just protracted the diet and been on time, been ahead all the way through it.
It's almost like anticipating what you're going to have to change before you have to change, and rather than playing catch up. Do you think any of that kind of knowledge has had? We're kind of sidetracking a little bit, and which is going to happen quite a lot during this interview. Do you think any of that has had? Have you had any transferable skills from that?
Yeah, like shout out David McMurtry. I honestly think that I took him from 1 year, like his first year competing, where he started out behind, and it was just like get him on. We both tried our hardest, but get him on stage, and he was gonna be as good as he could be for that diet, but never would have been like shredded. And the next year he competed, I would say he probably competed with better condition than ever I had.
He looks good, I remember.
He looked miles better. Probably still could have looked better still. Another 7 pounds would have of body fat, and maybe some more fullness along with that would have made the world of difference. But I think I did his diet the way I would have done mine if I would have had.
If you'd have had somebody else doing your diet and telling you what to do.
If I could have.
Do you think it's easier to tell somebody else what to do than it is? It's much easier to take somebody else to a place where they don't want to go than it is. I suppose it is.
If you could turn yourself into a video game character, like in The Sims or whatever, where you can choose what you want and do this.
I have no idea what that is, so no.
Okay.
Don't explain it to me. It's fine. I can live with my ignorance.
All right. Okay.
What's the old person version of that? I don't know.
What's you? No, actually, I know you can probably like relate to this more. You know, like when people say they have out of body experiences on a trip.
Yeah. No. Yes.
Right, I'm not. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Imagine if you could just like watch yourself and control yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I would want to do. And I think some bodybuilders can do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think some can do that. I think
view themselves so objectively.
Well. Yeah. But do you think that any of that has taken? There's been a transferable skill into your powerlifting, in any way?
Ooh, good question. Bodybuilding in general.
Bodybuilding, the type of training, maybe even the dieting, getting ready for competition. Is there anything you think that you did whilst you were bodybuilding that you could then take into powerlifting? Whether it be, you stood up on stage in your undercrackers, the fear of somebody looking at you when you're lifting something, it's a little bit underwhelming after you've done that. So is there anything that you can think of that?
Massively. One, it's much harder, so like I almost look for more of a challenge from powerlifting.
Okay.
I'm never really complaining that a session was too hard, because like in bodybuilding, like going to failure on sets of squats and sets of deadlifts, like for reps and reps and reps, and the amount of like when powerlifters joke, oh, this is cardio, and it's kind of like, yeah, it's funny joking about that, but it might just actually be training hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree
So
with
I'm
that.
willing to push myself at least as hard as any powerlifting program would necessitate. I like any cardio that's like my coach now. Still can't reveal his identity, can we? But he gives me a couple of cardio sessions a week, and I love the idea of doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I relish it.
I'm a bit. I'm not a huge fan of this. Oh, I'm a powerlifter. I don't do reps. I'm really okay. I'm not. I'm just not. I'm not a fan of it. And I think that. I also think that bodybuilders are people who've trained intensely in bodybuilding intensity, truly to an intensity, then kind of come over to powerlifting. Almost find. I'm not going to say they find the training easy, but they don't. If there's volume there, it doesn't phase them or doing. If there is something and it's a finisher and it's 100 reps. I think. Do you think they have a little bit more of an open mind to variation within assistance work maybe and rep ranges and might kind of go, oh, do you know what, just for the hell of it, I'm going to blast out a 20 rep set at the end of it, just for the hell of it, because I can.
Yeah, I think they're both mentally prepared to do it because they've done it and they've seen good results in the past. So they're not scared of it. And two, they're physically prepared because they've got that quote-unquote GPP. And yeah, I definitely think so. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, you get a powerlifter who might not even be that great, who says, oh, I'm a powerlifter, I don't do cardio. And it's like, well, fair enough. If you're one of the most elite people in the world and you've got as far as you have, doing that with nowhere else to gain, then okay, maybe I'll take your point. You don't need it. But say if it's like a super, super, super heavyweight and they're like putting up an average total and they say, oh, I don't do cardio. It's like, well, maybe you could benefit from it because you're not that good.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the biggest things is recovery. I think it's recovery from set to set, so that when you do come to compete and say it is a small flight, of 10 and it's going real quick, that your recovery, you just kind of like boom, and that is kind of, that's the, is it cardio or is it a fitness level, that you have a certain level of fitness that your body is then able to recover quicker, and you're like, to boom. Then boom. Because don't forget, everybody knows, obviously we're talking to a powerlifting community, that as you're going in for your attempts, your intensity your percentage is getting higher.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're going to be able to recover for that and to survive the day, I suppose.
Yeah, and to feel less knackered at the end of
absolutely.
the day. It's in between sets and in between sessions, isn't it? Because the cardio in between sessions is going to be flushing out waste products and whatnot, and just having a more efficient cardiovascular system will help to do that anyway. And I think whether it be high rep sets or actually going out on a walk or doing a bike, don't close your mind to it. And I think,
or training intensity. If you say, okay, well, I don't want to. Okay, what I'm going to do a timed rest period. I'm going to shorten my rest periods between these. Huge fan of it. Massive fan of shortened rest periods.
And even just the fact that you've got a timer there.
Yes.
I like the fact when it's counting down. I like and hate it. It's like, right, okay. And then at that point, you stop focusing on what anyone else is doing, and it's like, look, I'm about to do my set, and it gets your heart going, as if someone's about to call bar loaded.
Yeah.
And it's like, right, okay, this is the one now. And yeah, I just love having a timer there.
I agree.
Sometimes
I'm a big fan.
If my coach is giving me like 1 minute rest periods, I might call him an arsehole a couple of times in my head, but I'm grateful for it at the same
end
time.
Of it, yeah. I think do you ever get it where you kind of like look at it and you kind of go, oh yeah, sometimes they look really easy on paper, don't they?
Yeah.
I know I've trained a system where just for out of necessity, where everything was done in singles with timed rest periods, and you're like, that's easy. And pretty much you've got your session over and done with. Like your main lifts are over and done with. Could be over and done within 8 minutes, literally.
I think we talked about this, didn't we, on your episode?
That's right.
Was it where you had to bench in the singles because of your shoulder?
Yeah.
And it was 1 minute, but then we factored in the fact that you've got your wrist wraps to put on and off, you set up to do. So you're spending half the time setting up.
Yeah, because the rest period it's not, you don't start, you lift from racking to starting the next lift. That's if you're strict about it, that's where the rest period is. So you're enjoying that kind of I'm going to call it an improved cardio fitness, probably, and recovery fitness.
Yeah, I I do feel I've not quantified fully how much, for example, my resting heart rate has gone down yet, and I think that's one of the biggest, probably the biggest sign, isn't it, that you've got. That was just because I was ill for a couple of weeks and I'd gone back on a course, so it was kind of like the same, despite the cardio I was doing. So I was like, right, I'm going to retest after I've got off over this cold, and I've just kept forgetting to do it because putting a heart rate strap on the first thing in the morning, I don't know why, but it's just not one of those things you remember to do. Like,
no.
But you've reminded me that I want to see like how much my resting heart
That would be interesting. I think it's a lot of the time as well is how quick your heart recovers from a period of intensity and then drops back down.
I found that I feel like less
and you can tell that by
destroyed when I'm about to do my next set. Certainly.
And how's that? So we're kind of going backwards and forwards now. So what different training systems have you used in your training? Yeah.
Okay, so when I started, never really used a system. I think you'd gone back to the whole story of it.
Oh yeah, but what could you first deadlift? That was it, wasn't it?
So I was in an off season whereby I had probably stopped competing in 2012. That was the last time. That was the time they had the British over at the. Is it called the Excel? No, that's in London, isn't it? What's it called? The Event City. Where we're having Tattooed and Strong.
Yeah.
Sorry, how did I forget that one? I just didn't realise it was there. But they had an expo, didn't they?
Yes.
And they had the British there. I did that one, didn't place. But I then had like just a long off season because I knew that was my last chance to ever do the juniors. It was like 22 at the time or something. So I was like, okay, I'm just not gaining. I mean, I had a long time off gear as well, so lo and behold, you're not gaining compared to the highs that you did reach on gear. Like, go figure. So I thought to myself, weirdly enough, my best mate Tom Bates said to me, Alex, why don't you just stop focusing so much on the form and just focus on getting the weight up? And I kind of thought, you don't understand, but maybe there's something in what you're saying. So I kind of started like experimenting with it, but I quickly realised that if I wanted to really shift some weight, I might have to come and talk to you because you were doing very, very well at powerlifting at the time. And I said, like, maybe I just want like maybe a few pointers on how to do the power lifts. Squat, bench and deadlift, I want to get those better. I think it was mainly squat and deadlift I came to you for because I had this irrational fear of tearing my pec through powerlifting, which weirdly has only come to fruition recently.
No, you've got fitter.
But it's not but it's not fully off, so it doesn't matter. And at the time I think you were kind of busy in some of the evenings, so you had a client called Vicky, didn't you?
Yes.
So what we did is we had me train Vicky in the evenings so that you could be free, and then you would coach me on the power lifts in exchange. So we did that. Got me deadlifting, got me sumo.
I have no recollection. See, this is what happens when you get us all. You can tell me my whole life back, and I'm like, oh, is that what happened? All right, okay. So that's exactly what happened. I do remember now that you say
it. The session that sparked it, actually, when I was kind of in the middle of a back session, and I was like, these powerlifters are doing sumo deadlifts. Paul's doing them, Tan's doing them. Let me just have a go of them. So I went over just like regular gym bar, regular gym plates. Hadn't deadlifted for 13 months because my conventional used to be so round backed and I have scoliosis, and I was like, I can feel my vertebrae. I can literally feel them. So sumo deadlift worked up to 260 for 2. This is like no training of the deadlift whatsoever. I came and I told Paul, and he was like, you did what? And I was like, yeah, I did 260 for 2. And then like we got into the coaching thing from there, and like a little bit after, I think I pulled my foot. I decided I was going to do a comp because I just said to
comp?
The GPC Midlands, the one that's just been actually.
Oh right, okay.
Lee
so
Marshall's
the Lee
Central,
Marshall's, Central.
Probably the most
fun
comp
I remember.
I've ever done.
Yeah.
Not fair. It's just, I don't think any comp experience will ever beat that. I remember like the.
Do you think it's because there was no expectation?
Yeah, in theory, it was like the worst day ever because I didn't put a total up because, do you remember I was late?
Oh yeah, you. Oh my God. Yes, I remember now.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to tell this story now because, so basically, driving down to Birmingham early enough to get there for weigh-in if nothing went wrong. I was driving down.
And true to Alexander Clarke style, everything went wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the blame for this because of the circumstances. I was driving down with I think the girl I was seeing at the time and her mate, and I really wanted to take the toll road. To be honest, we didn't take the toll road, and we just take this wall of traffic. And I was like, I was just so pissed off. I missed my squats, but I just said, "Can I push pull?"
Mm-hmm.
Said yeah, and yeah, I benched something like 155, and I went for 170, failed it, and I deadlifted 330.5, and that was a GPC British record in the 125 class, first ever comp. And obviously, I thought I was the bee's knees at that point because, I mean, it's fucking good for your first comp.
Yeah, of course it is,
I weighed in at
Yeah.
like 115 as well, and I was only 24. Yeah, obviously, then you get to know like what people can do, and that's a British record. It's one federation's British record, and then there are other British records, and then, you know, there are people, you know, I don't know, like in the IPF doing it on a stiff bar, and they're stronger than you, but yeah, there are people 2 weight classes below you, and but it was nice. It was a really good first comp, and I had a few weeks of really deliberating, like, you know, are you really going to quit bodybuilding because you've done this for so many years? And it wasn't like a choice based on logic. It was based on purely on emotion. I could not stop being obsessed with powerlifting now. I just couldn't stop, like,
I remember I think I remember me and Paul kind of having a bit of a conversation with you, and quite distinctly remember saying to you, and I know you'll take this on the chin. We said, Alex, you'll never be a great bodybuilder, but you could be one of the greatest powerlifters in the UK.
Yeah, you said that, and it was a positive to me though.
Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was kind of meant to be that sign, like, do you know what, if you're going to train this hard, you know, we'd seen you, we'd seen how well you'd done and just how meticulous you are. I think that is probably something that people won't see or haven't seen, because obviously we've seen you right from the start right through to now. It's just how meticulous you are with everything that you do when you're training. Usually the rest of your life falls apart, but when you train, when you train and you are, and you're patient, you're extremely patient in that you will do something, you will try it, you will see it through, whether it'll be training, whether you just have a real kind of, I always say slow and steady wins the race. You never set out to be a flash in the pan.
No.
You've got your eye set on something, and you're like, I'll literally work my way towards it, and I'll come back to one of those in a bit.
Yeah, I definitely want to be in the sport for the next 10 years. I'm like 30 now, so you know, I know you're gonna laugh at this and say, you know, that I'm being cheeky by saying that 40 is old, but like for a male powerlifter, your days of getting stronger, by most people's standards, are dwindling. Then
I think, you could be right. I think somewhere
Paul's
up to 40. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule. Your exception does not make the rule. That's why they're called exceptions.
Yeah. So I want to be in the sport for 10 more years. I don't want to be a flash in the pan. I want to improve all the way up till then. So maybe this is over ambitious, but I want to improve every single year. I want to improve linearly up to when I'm 40. So I don't set out to be a flash in the pan. I think the style of training that I do suits that. It's not single every time, get massively hyped for every training session, and then perform well at comp. I prefer that. Like, I prefer to just volume, plod. Don't care if it's boring. Don't care if you don't like my videos on Instagram. Like, just I'll plod, and then you lot will have your great training sessions, and you'll say you're going to do this. Everyone else will tell you that you're going to do this, and I'll beat you at comp.
Fair enough. I think that's a great approach. I
Might
think
not be everyone at comp, but what I'm saying is,
it's on platform where it counts.
yeah.
It does, and you come in. Generally train solo.
Yeah. Started doing a lot more since I started powerlifting.
Mm-hmm.
Used to think I need a training partner in bodybuilding. Fucking hard to come by though.
Aren't they? Well, they are in powerlifting as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we
It's
used to
more
have,
of a group,
we had a very good crew going at one point, didn't we? And I think that I really miss.
I miss it.
Yeah, I think for all of us it was really productive. I think it was super productive. I think I know that I did for sure. I think Paul did. Just kind of performance-wise, I think everybody performed really well on platform. I think that was kind of like a little bit of a golden period, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think there could be a lot of reasons for that as well, not just the fact that we all did the same things, we were all on different programs, but it was the same ethos, we all supported each other.
Yeah, for sure.
We all normally did the same comps, and I think we didn't push too hard, too close. I think that was one of the things, because once we'd all done our last squat session, our last deadlift session, pretty much all done it. Do you know what I mean? So we kind of trained in the same way, and I think we had kind of there was a lot of everything.
Yeah, there was no followers or leaders either, was there? Everybody. I was thinking the other way when we were little babyface assassin, when Gemma used to come in, and she had a separate bar set up, but she was still training when we used to have Deadlift Friday.
I mean, it was always Raz and I benching them, but I was always looking over.
Yeah. But as well, if you needed a spot, everybody would kind of go down the gym. The whole gym stops for that person to lift, particularly when it's coming up to, the last few weeks and people are putting in the last heavy sessions. It's the whole gym stops, and which they still do, to be fair. Everyone still stops and waits for a big lift to be done, and then carries on doing their own thing. There's always spots, there's always load, and that makes a massive difference, But
I think the patrons understand it as well of the gym.
Yes,
the patrons. Am I using the right word?
Or
do I mean punters?
Yeah, not
Punters
patriots.
Punters sounds
Patriots
like it's a
of the
brothel,
Olympic gym. Yeah. The patriots.
Patrons. What am I talking about?
I think it's patrons.
Right. Okay.
Customers.
Gym
goers.
That'll do.
There we go.
That's better, isn't it? They all understand it too. Like yesterday, I had Wiley in, and it was just me and a couple of others. Stu was the only one who knew how to use a monolift handle, and I wanted to spot him. Do you know what I mean? So Stu used a monolift handle, so it's good that everyone understands. Most people understand as well. It's good vibe, especially when you get a few people in.
Yeah, it is very much so. So, where were we up to? So, you've still not told me what you first deadlifted. Oh, yeah, it was 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was when
260, 270, 230.
It was around there. Yeah. I'd done 260 for a double with straps.
And we soon ditched them, didn't we?
We soon ditched those, and my grip was.
What did you say? What was it you could?
I don't think I could double overhand 180 at one point.
No, I don't think you could. I'm pretty sure about that.
I mean, obviously mixed grip wasn't too bad. I mean, it never failed me as such on comp. Maybe slipped a little bit. Mixed grip wasn't too bad, but it did take me a while. It was probably till 2 weeks out from my first comp to work up to deadlifting 300 for the first time. And obviously, when you do like when you get to 100 milestone, you feel like fucking Superman at the time, or Superwoman, don't you? I remember my first 300 here very, very distinctly. It was on a stiff bar too. And that was a couple of weeks before.
That's what we do, isn't it? As well, we'd always training would be done on a stiff bar until 2 weeks out.
Yeah. I think like now I do things a bit different. Right? I try and always train on a deadlift bar now, because deadlift bars at comps have thrown me off so much, made me wobble and stumble and fly all over the place. But yeah, it was harder conditions training to make easier conditions at comp. I think that was the ethos, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. We would definitely train hard, fight easy, for want of a cliche, but that was definitely all. So we didn't have the chalk, and we didn't have the smelling salts, and we didn't do that. That was all just brought. Well, we had chalk obviously, but there was no talc or smelling salts or loud music. That maybe just kind of like the last few sessions to kind of lead you in.
I like that sometimes, like when there's you have to be able to just train up to what's on. Music-wise, train to whatever's on. Doesn't matter if you don't like it. Don't be a princess. Sometimes you can be a princess, I think. Like, sometimes I am a bit of a princess, and I ask if I can just put a CD on the, on the one over there.
Yeah.
But, like, in general, like, I think sometimes you should just say to yourself, like, all right, it's just fucking the radio's on.
Yeah.
I don't like the radio.
Yeah. Just
but
crack on.
Let me just do this session, because it'll mean that if a shit song comes on at comp, I just train to it.
Yeah.
I just lift to it. I'm conditioned to train to anything.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think that there are definitely things that you can put in place to stimulate your mind to get you into a more lifting persona, shall we say. So there are certain things, whether it be smells, whether it be certain things that you eat or certain things that you hear, but you should be able to replicate them, even if it is only having that song going over in your head.
Yeah.
If someone's not, if they're not playing your song, you should know your song. You can have your song going over in your head. Everyone's got earphones, so you're not reliant on the. I think the more external variables that you can eliminate at a competition that are out of your control, that you don't focus on, the better you are on platform, or the better you should be able to be on platform.
A bit like Brandon Lilly said, he trained. I think he did like. Kind of did a similar quick singles thing to what you did, or it might have been quick doubles or quick triples, where you have a certain amount of time, you don't get time to set up. So he's conditioning himself for pulling well even when out of line.
Yeah.
I think that's loads of different theories on how you would do that, but that's like same kind of thing, isn't it? And I think going back to that point, your comp is the only comp that I've ever been to. Actually, I think I've done it at the British as well, but it might have been when you organised it. Being able to actually pick my music.
Yeah.
It's certainly only GPC comps. I've never been allowed to pick my music at other comps, so I think you should definitely condition yourself to
lift to anything. Or nothing.
Yeah. Just at the end of the day, you want to pull the bar. The motivation should be deadlifting or squatting or benching the bar. It shouldn't be doing it because a song's on.
Do you have a favourite lift of the three?
Right. Obviously, if I said which one do you prefer to just go in and do, at the moment it would be deadlift.
Okay.
But that's like for fun. But if I can get one of my weaker lifts to improve, then that's the lift I would most want to concentrate on. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense, I'm more of the mindset to focus on what I'm not good at. Do you know what I mean? I don't just want to be a great deadlifter and then just have my squat and bench stay where it is.
Yeah, I've got a poverty bench, or I've got poverty, or I've got. Well, if you have, then work at it.
Yeah,
prioritise that. Whatever it is that you're lagging behind, prioritise. It doesn't
always have to be the case.
No.
At the minute, right now, like we've backed my squat right off because we just want my knees to be better. And my bench, I'm not really benching at the moment. I've got a session after this to do, but it's 100 kilos because I had like some niggles in my pecs that just kept happening. We just needed to rest them. So at the minute, it's hard for me to say, yeah, my squat and my bench are my favourite list because I'm not really training them. So short answer, deadlift for fun. In terms of overcoming, so to speak, bench and squat.
Yeah, okay.
Main squat.
How have your lifts changed from when you started out to now? I remember you trying conventional, and it was soon decided. I think as a collective, we kind of went, yeah, no.
How have they changed? Obviously, as a bodybuilder, I always conventionaled because I didn't really know much about sumo. So finding out that I was just stronger at sumo just felt a bit more natural. That's one change, obviously. I feel like I tried semi-sumo, I tried wide sumo, gone back to wide sumo because I've kind of figured out how to do it now. I think semi, as good as it looked, there were actually problems where the bar would get very much out in front of me. And in reality, that would always happen. And I suit a wider stance because I got longer legs. Do you know what I mean? I think my conventional technique has definitely improved, but I think it would take, because I still do conventional, but it would take a bit longer for that to catch up to my
Yeah.
sumo. I think now it looks a lot better, but
Does it feel better as well? Because you said before, that when you deadlifted, when you were bodybuilding, you can literally feel your spine collapsing on itself. Because your scoliosis is pretty severe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely significant. I wouldn't if I compared it to like someone who has really, really bad scoliosis and who is,
there's always going to be somebody worse, but you've not just got like a little kink
it isn't
in
like
the spine.
a little.
No.
Yeah, it's 24 degrees for anyone who knows about cob angles and stuff. That's what it's been measured at by a chiropractor who looked at my X-ray. Whether that's bang on correct, I don't know, but it's. Then I had someone else look at it and say, yeah, it's about there. So 2 people have pretty much confirmed that. So it would never need surgery because 40 degrees is a surgery point. But yeah, it's affected my life. Like, that I've had just standing up, even now, like I just don't stand up for long periods because my back starts to fucking burn. My left lat feels like it's on fire. So yeah, it's significant. I think what I used to do was I probably used to try and get behind the bar and sit down too much. Like, I think a lot of bodybuilders think that's just how you would naturally assume to deadlift, isn't it? And I think that's what would maybe cause the backgrounding, because
you
end up getting into a shit position like halfway up, don't you? So yeah, I think conventional techniques got better. Definitely arched more in the bench press. I think that took a while to happen, but it was Brandon actually coming over. And you remember him at that seminar saying, "Nope, more. You need to get your shoulders to your ass," and stuff like that. So I was like, this is what an arch is. That definitely helped, because it was a few months after that, along with maybe a little bit of change in the programming, that I started to bench well. Got above like 220 and stuff, and then squat. Oh Jesus Christ! Started off squatting like a fairly normal person, really like a fairly normal powerlifter. You had me go low bar like straight away, pretty much. Have the bar lower, like not on your neck, Alex.
Yeah, but by low bar, that wasn't low bar.
It was just on my rear delts.
But basically,
it was it's what I'd still say to everyone pretty much to do. Like, most people are stronger low bar. I had some time high bar, but I think I'm a little bit stronger low bar. So obviously from bodybuilding, it went from being on my neck to on my rear delts. At no point did it sit on my traps during my bodybuilding time. God, my squats changed so much just to try and save my knees, really. I went through a period, as you know, of squatting very wide with flat shoes, just to try and avoid any quad pain, knee pain, any quad activation, just to use my hips. It's not optimal for me, but at the time it was all I knew. So obviously, working my new coach, I think his speciality before any coaching happened was rehab. So kind of working together to just try and get these quads to be less tight and dominant. And now I squat kind of closer, heeled, toes quite pointed out, but with a low bar.
Okay.
And it feels really good. Feels really good. Feels really.
So you're
natural.
kind of looking at working for your biomechanics, really, aren't you? Because it's all well and good, kind of going, doing that is optimal and doing that. Well, hang on a minute. Let's have a look at you. Let's see where your proportions are, and let's see where your levers are.
Yeah.
Is your middle in the middle? No, Alex, yours isn't. Well, it isn't it? So theoretically, if you do have that curve in your spine, you're probably a good 2 inches shorter than you realistically should be. Like 2, 3, maybe even.
Yeah, 2. I think 1.5, 2 is what I've seen from people who've had the op, who are maybe like 40 degrees, and they've gained on their height. So I mean.
And it will also, it will have a shift on everything else, and you have pretty long limbs.
I think that might be a reason why I feel, because one of the things I'm working on now is try to keep the bar from fucking rolling.
Yes.
And it's very hard for me to keep my lats tucked
underneath.
But when I do, it makes so much more of a difference. To say that I've squatted 310 and I physically felt the bar roll, this is bare knee. It bodes really well for the future if I can just keep that bar where it is and just be able to power through it, right, with no shifting of where it is. So yeah, I think that's how my lifts have changed. Yeah.
What about your training style? How's that changed?
Training style.
I think we might have kind of asked this question.
I didn't. I think I wrote my own programs at the start, but because I was so reluctant to let go of bodybuilding stuff. So really, all that happens is
you squatted and then did a load of bodybuilding.
loads of leg pressing.
Yeah.
Loads of people are saying, Alex, this won't help you in powerlifting. And I was like, yeah. Obviously, I need bigger quads. That must be what I need. It isn't just to focus on variations of the squat. But over time, it did.
Did you think you were going to lose size?
Yeah, I
Did you think
felt like I was
going
to lose size. Like, I've had other bodybuilders come to me say that they think they're going to lose size. So if you gain a load of strength...
Do you not just kind of go, hello?
Yeah, exactly. So if you gain loads of strength, your muscle's going to respond by getting smaller, is it? What the fuck? Do you know what I mean? Like, look at it logically.
No logic, is
but
there?
Sometimes you don't listen to logic at the time. You think that you need all these other exercises. And then it's quite disheartening in a way to realise that you spent years doing all these weird machines and you could have just used a bar to gain all your muscle size.
But you did. Yeah, I think so as well. No, I wouldn't poo-poo anything, and you didn't start off at 82 kilos, did you? And then gain everything.
No, I didn't. I think certain musculature that I have and many other bodybuilders have, it can only be achieved by getting the actual focus on the muscle that like certain exercises give you that aren't the deadlift, the squat, or the bench press. You'd probably be big, but you probably wouldn't have the development in certain areas.
Do you think that's definitely been a carryover as well, in that you can kind of see that where you need more muscle, and then you can pretty much go away and target and focus and say, right, okay, this is what I need to do, and I know how to get that. Yeah,
being able to feel the contraction is definitely something. So you'll know with a lot of novices don't just, when you coach them, if they don't know how to,
they're just moving something. Yeah,
but we as ex-bodybuilders just know the mind-muscle connection, right? Lock your shoulders back and down. Okay, lower traps, just squeeze them, lats, squeeze them, stuff like that. I think that's definitely a thing, and I think the positive is for me, knowing that I have as much muscle as I do, I know that there's still so much potential for strength there to be had. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
I've nowhere near, in my estimations, tapped into what's possible. Look at like Stan Efferding. Like, I know levers, biomechanics play a big part into everything, but he kind of shows how much having that much muscle just opens up the potential for strength gain. As long as you have enough time and you do things the correct way while you've got that potential, like all that muscle there, like your top end should, in theory, without other factors, be a lot higher than someone who doesn't have all that muscle. So yeah, I think it's definitely been a good thing to start out in bodybuilding and then go to powerlifting for all the reasons above, really.
And have you done any? What types of powerlifting training have you tried out? Have you used?
At the start, it was just linear progression, which I use with a lot of clients now, which I'm doing now. There are lots of different ways of doing it, aren't they? I think I probably used to push a lot harder, to the point where my form might be more risk of breaking down. I might be at more risk of like nearly not getting the last set or something. Not so much now. But then I think the first... I just kind of wrote a lot of my own programs based on linear progression. I don't want to say that I didn't know what I was doing, but I know a lot more of what I'm doing now. Do you know what I mean?
Everyone should be able to pick up knowledge along the way, shouldn't they? Whether they're coached by somebody else or they decide to, coach themselves. At some point or other, you should be kind of go, oh, right, okay, that works. Oh, this doesn't, then...
I think
regardless of how sciencey you are, you should be able to learn something.
Yeah, you should be able to look back at an old program, which is what I'm thinking I would do now, and go, that's why I wouldn't do that anymore. That's why I wouldn't give someone that now. But it worked at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? It definitely worked. The first actual powerlifting program I ever did, I say actual powerlifting program that someone had written down, put in a book form, was RTS, Reactive Training Systems by Mike Teixeira. Train a lot of IPF athletes, more of an online coach, but that worked massively for my bench press. And I think some of the bench sessions were very, very high volume. Like, I was high volume anyway, but it took it to another level. And doing things like boards as a variation, which I'd never done before. Just coincidentally, I'd just never done it before. Just allowed me to probably ups the volume again because you're using more weight. And there's also an aspect of overload, so that's probably why it took my bench up. But I think the problem was that because I was just basing that off a book, I think that I didn't really change it enough as time went on. I probably, if I had changed the wrong things and stopped really progressing, which was
so almost like the kind of similarities to the to your dieting. So almost like not reacting quick enough.
I just did the same thing over and over and over again. Because as well I was getting more clients, and I thought, you know what, like at the end of the week, I've done all their plans, and I just didn't have time to do my own, or I didn't make time to do my own. And I thought, well, if you do the last training cycle that you did, just copy and paste that over.
Then you're done.
Well, I'll do that again because it worked last time, and then after a bit it does stop working. So then I thought, you know what, if I can get a coach that I can afford and who actually want to coach me, I'll do that. Talked to a couple of people who I know. Luckily this guy is a close friend of mine, and I just feel like ridiculously like lucky to have put 2 and 2 together and asked him, because I think like it's such a good pairing. Like, I just hope that what looks like it's going to happen is going to happen, and the improvements will start to come, and because people will see what I mean by why it's such a good pairing.
So do you think that's because the communication between you is very good as well? And
communication's great, and like you and I have talked about before, I'd say I'm like 60 to 70% sciencey. I'm a lot of a bro. But I'm mostly sciencey.
You're a science bro.
Science bro.
You're definitely so.
I'm not bro science,
no,
but I'm a science bro.
You're a sciencey bro.
And he's probably like 80-90% sciencey. So
he can tell you the whys and wherefores when you ask him.
Yeah, he's definitely additive, rather than I wouldn't want someone. I don't think I would work. Not that they couldn't help me, but if I had like a, how do I say it, like someone who was way less sciencey and was kind of like, look, why do I do this? And there's just fucking do it.
No
like,
justification behind it.
Yeah, like and
but this is kind of also getting back to you being you are
wrong.
super meticulous.
Yeah.
So if you are doing something, you know, it's just kind of part of your nature that you want to understand why you're doing it. I don't think you're prone to is it analysis paralysis?
No, because we know people who are prone to analysis paralysis, and they don't actually get anywhere.
Anything done.
If I am, it's a small amount of it, but it isn't like a massive amount, because at the end of the day, I get it done. Do you know what I mean? I've made wrong decisions in retrospect, but there were so many things to pick from. Do you know what I mean? But I think.
But is it wrong if you've learnt something from it? I always think you're always going to take a learning away from something, aren't you? So whether it be, oh well, actually, if I hadn't have done that, then I wouldn't have done that. Well, I'm not going to go back and do that again. But sometimes you look at something that might not have been ideal for you, but go, oh, actually though, that'll work for such and such, especially if you've got clients that I remember doing that. And sometimes you look back and you go, I completely forgot that I did that. Oh my God, when I was doing that, or I was rehabbing that, what did I used to do? They were the exercise, and then you take them.
And that's where the other side of it comes into coaching or lifting: experience. You can't replace experience, because in that situation you described there, because yes, I've actually done it. I've actually done this, and I know why it works and why it does not work. You might be able to read about something and say you should do this, but unless you've done it yourself, you have no idea how it feels.
No.
You don't know how it feels to recover from. you don't even know how to do it.
Yeah.
In reality, if I said to you, right, there's the equipment, go and set it up and do it, if you've only read about it, you're going to look so awkward doing it the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. I was. This is a complete sidetrack, but I went online to learn how to do play a particular style on the uke, and I came across this lady's video, and she actually said that she played the style, but she said she only read it, so she replicated what she read, and what she was doing. Even though it was right, it was very, very unique to her because she'd just done it however she decided that it was done. It kind of done a little bit of a different way. And I think that is what you kind of get from reading. It's great, it's fantastic, but you do need somebody there to show. And also not just to, I don't know if you agree with this, it's very, very easy for people to say what's wrong.
Yeah.
There's no skill in that. Knowing how to correct it, that's where the skill is, and it's not just the rhetoric. And I think therein, lies.
I've experienced it where I've seen someone and it's like, shit, there's something wrong with that, but I don't know how to make this better.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I'll admit that I've had clients before and I'm like scratching my head. Eventually, 95% of the time you'll get it, but because like I think you like me, like you won't just leave someone being like shit for ages if you know there's something fucking wrong, and it might just be that something's tight, and that it just needs to, so they can get into the right position. I think that's when it's hardest, because they've got like a mobility deficit, because I'm not physio.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I think that's when it is hardest. When it's simply like technique, it's a bit easier to correct. But it's harder to correct stuff than it is to actually just say, that's wrong.
That's wrong. You get it, particularly now with sort of like online stuff where people kind of go, oh, you need to, and it's like, you can see that, so how do you correct it?
Yeah.
What do you put in place to do that? What's all the underpinning stuff?
Or you might have tried these things that X person has suggested,
because they're on the internet and people will have read it and tried to implement them. So what else? And I would say to my clients, you're gonna have to put up with the little faffy stuff. We've got a lot we're going to be doing, so you're going to be doing some little faffy stuff, because that little faffy stuff's really important. So
it's the
which
the
I see you doing.
Stuff.
I see you doing your warm ups. I see you doing quite. When you kind of go, when people will be looking and going, "What's he doing now?"
A lot of it is rehab. So you're a witness that I do actually do it.
You do rehab. Well, rehab and prehab, isn't it? It's you don't want to be shutting the stable door after the horse has bolted. What plans have you got for this year? Because we're right at the beginning. So what plans have you got lifting? And do you have any numbers in mind that you want to disclose? You don't have to if you don't want to.
I don't mind saying what my goals are, because I think one of the big things that Paul taught me, tell everyone what you're going to do. Doesn't matter. Like people think that your goals are too lofty. Because sometimes they are and sometimes you don't reach them, but it's kind of like, one, it's having the courage to do it, and two, it's saying to yourself, oh shit, I told all these people that I was going to do that. I'm doing your competition, Tattooed and Strong, on the 8th of March. There's a 7th of March as well. I think that's lightweight men and women.
Yeah,
and
lightweight men.
The fat lads are the day after. So yeah, I'm doing that. Numbers in mind, I honestly think I'm capable of a 400 kilo deadlift.
Nice.
I honestly, it has to be a good day.
I think it would have to be a good day for anybody, doesn't it? I think that's stupendous, and I think we've got a £400 for £400 for the first 400 kilo deadlift, and it is the first one to go up. If multiple people, not asked, don't care, it's the first one to do it. There you go. Everyone's is there more price? No, it's not complicated. The statement
go into
was,
the guy at the end and say, I'll split it.
Yeah. That's the idea. It makes it a little bit more interesting. Do you play the slow game, or do you put it in first? Well, that's
bench wise, because I want to be in the running for the rower overall as well. I'm doing bench. I am gonna see where we get with this rehab.
Okay.
I mean, you know, there's certain amounts that I know I'll be able to do, regardless. But we just want to make sure that the pec's okay first.
Right.
So it'll be above 200. We don't necessarily have to go for a PB though. Do you know what I mean?
Not
I
necessarily.
don't think we will.
No,
But
sometimes it's about being smart. It's about what your goals. Your goals might be say, you know what, I've got a few niggles going on, and I want to make sure I can get a good total in, and then work off there, work to some new numbers, and then kind of build back up. Know where
and
you
I'd
are.
rather be fresher for the
Yeah.
deadlift too. But yeah, definitely like the Andy Bolton deadlift challenge. I can't say how not optimal my prep was in terms of deadlifting for that compared to this. And I pulled 385 there.
Nice.
And it looked like if I would have just attempted something different for that attempt, would have gone like 390 would have gone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, looking forward to that. So, comp after that is BPF British. So, the BPF is the one which can get you to IPL and WRPF internationally. I must say I'm doing that one to get to WRPF. That's why I'm doing it, which is in start of May. So, just a 9 for 9 performance. See how my squat has progressed, because it's going to be the first time I squatted in like 7 months in a comp. That's what I'm looking for on that day. After that, GPC Pro. So first comp. So the BPF British will be in sleeves. GPC Pro will be the first one in wraps since the Irish Pro, which will be exactly a year. So there'll be a wrapped training cycle, some sessions on that monolift in there. They should be fun. So yeah, GPC Pro is going to be good.
That's in November.
It's in September.
September,
and
yeah.
It's in Liverpool at the Fit Expo. I think if anyone subscribes to the magazine, which you can do at BritishStrengthMagazine.com, you'll notice that they...
Well plugged, Alex. Well done. This could be yours.
They have the Fit Expo have advertised in that magazine. So from the sounds of things, it's going to be something good to check out. So come along and come along to the GPC Pro. You'll see
Definitely.
If all the lifters turn up who are on that list, that's going to
Got to be in it to win it.
Yeah, it's going to be
Everybody
fucking
wants
crazy,
to win.
isn't it?
Nobody likes to compete. About time everyone started putting the money where the mouth is.
Yeah, it's never 100% turnout. Never 100% turnout. But if that can get even close, it's going to be a spectacle of a day to witness. Because there are lifters coming over from these strong guys from Europe, the Eastern Europe type guys who you don't really hear of, but they're on the radar.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you go,
totals.
now.
Right. Got some work to
because
do.
I said, yes, thank you very much. Is what I'm here. No, it's
so,
stupendous, and just down the road.
Yeah,
should be refereeing for that.
Only in Liverpool. I mean, it's kind of difficult to say, being that the squat on the bench isn't really being pushed at the minute, but I know that I can get close to, if not 1,000 in wraps. I know that the potential is there. It's just closing in on that potential from now till then. My coach has said that to me. He's actually not he's very positive. You know him. You know who I'm talking about. He's very positive, but he's not the type to blow smoke.
No, absolutely not. I agree.
He's about getting the best out of people, but you know that if you don't do the work and the right type of work, it won't happen. But I know that I know that I'm capable of 1,000 kilo total within just a little bit of time. Then the last one, probably on paper the most exciting, WRPF Worlds, which is in Moscow, Russia.
Wow.
So that'll be sleeves again. So like mid to high 900s we're looking there total wise. That'll just be because I've done all this time. Like, I competed in bare knees, started doing it just because I tried it out in one training session and thought that it would be a good way, because my son Logan had just been born, just saving a little bit of time.
Yes, yeah.
While I was up in Newcastle training on my own, in wraps, walking it out feels fucking awful.
Yeah.
So that's why I did so many BPU comps for about 2 years, because it was just convenient to train that way. And I think from bodybuilding, there's another transfer actually. You used to training with like nothing on.
Yeah, that's
like,
very true.
You get one of your shit fucking chic belts.
Yeah.
Do you remember those? Everyone
Yeah.
thought they were amazing.
Yeah.
Like they were like being advertised in Flex magazine. Jay Cutler was wearing them. Chris Cormier was wearing them, and you thought, fucking hell,
That's
a
amazing.
chic belt.
Yeah.
And it's just a piece of fucking. It's like foam. It's
Isn't it?
made out of.
Doesn't do
The
very
fucking
much. And a
shit.
pair of trainers.
Yeah. And yeah, it's not like a fucking SPD or an Inza
No,
Forever belt, is it?
No,
Fucking hell.
colour coordinated.
Yeah, so I just enjoyed that bare knee period, but my point being that I want to, if I do go over to just competing in wraps, which it looks like what it might happen, because it's just the most competitive scene at the minute. It's like you're having to look around the world for like sleeved comps to do that are at a high standard. I just want to at least set a decent total in sleeves before I close in on just wraps for too long. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair. One thing that I do always like about it is you'll compete across federations, which I always think is awesome. And you'll kind of go, all right, okay, well I'll do that, and I'll right, I'm gonna do it sleeved, or I'm gonna do it bare kneed, or I'm gonna go and do it, wrapped or whatever. There doesn't seem to be a style, if you like, of powerlifting. I think the only thing that you probably haven't done is you haven't shirted bench, bench shirting.
I've tried I did 2 sessions in a shirt. I did 220 and 240, which, as you know, like it's not astronomical. I have all the respect in the world for equipped lifters. I think that for me, it's too much faffing and commitment to get into.
And the amount of people that you would have to have around you, is ridiculous.
Yeah,
you'd need a crew of 5-6 people.
Yeah, I mean, 5-6 people is a lot of people for me.
It is. It's a lot of people for all of us. This is why we're all friends, because we basically leave each other alone.
Yeah, just a group of introverts who little bits of social interaction. It's cool, but like, so. Equipped lifting, got all the respect in the world, and I think probably the biggest platform is for that now is IPF actually, because they have a single ply division, which is, it's not thriving as much as the raw one is, but in the untested, I understand why people do it, because they love it, but the thing is, it's just not as competitive unless you're looking at the lists of the all-time world records and the all-time British records, and that becomes kind of the game that you have to play, because
it does, which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
it seems to be kind of having a little bit of an undercurrent. I think we've got, particularly in the women, I think we've got maybe 5, 6 equipped lifters at Tattooed and Strong this year.
Well,
then that's just in the women. Now you can go to a comp and not have 5 or 6 equipped lifters, so I think that's they were the kind of go, do you know what, I'm going to have a and a lot of times a lot of the I'm going to say the lighter weight classes are kind of going, do you know what, we're going to have a go at that,
I can think of like a few off the top of my head. I don't know who. I know obviously the only person I know of in Tattooed and Strong is lifting. Stella's lifting equipped.
Yeah, I think
who
Stella.
else?
So Stella's lifting equipped. I think, as far as I'm aware, Abby. In fact, I think we've got 3 girls in the same weight class lifting equipped, but one's a math.
Is Abby Taylor lifting?
Not Abby Taylor.
Okay.
Abigail Stacey. So
I'm pretty sure. I did not know.
I'm pretty sure Abby is. Stella is. I think Deb Kelly is. But one's a junior, one's an open, and one's a master. But
will they all go into the overall?
They will. As for
okay.
it goes on open for the overall, doesn't it? Steph's lifting equipped. Steph Taylor. I think we've got. I don't know. I don't think the Canadians are. I think one girl who was lifting equipped, she's just pulled out, which is a shame. But I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, I think there are 2 others. In fact, I think there might be more women lifting equipped this year than there are men.
Wow,
which is interesting.
That is pretty cool.
And they're good, some cracking lifters.
My client actually said that to me. Shout out Tindy. She said to me, it seems like equipped lifting is getting more popular amongst women.
I
had to think about it. I was like, actually, I kind of know. And when I do reposts on British Strength magazine, the Worlds and stuff, and the Europeans and all that stuff, there are more women like doing well at it anyway. I think.
I think doing it and kind of say doing it justice, shall we say? Doing it justice.
And I think, I mean, I don't want to do anyone a disservice here, but in the men's side of things, it's like I look at Tony Cliff and it's like there's him, and the other guy who jumps to the top of my head now is Ray Bowring.
Okay.
And it might just be my lack of knowledge of that side of things, of the men's side of the sport in the UK, in the equipped lifting, in the IPF. But it's like them, and then there's no one really else. Because I was looking for people to repost from the Worlds, and I was like, send me videos. No one ever did. I know Tony didn't because he bombed. I don't want to highlight that. No, but that's why he didn't. But, but yeah, it's like him, then there's kind of everyone else. But in the women, there are a lot at a good standard. So there might be something in it there. Do you know what I mean? There might be something.
So, I mean, maybe it's just a law of averages, a law of numbers, because we know that the women's lifting has gone up it's gone up significantly. It's gone up massively over the last 4 or 5 years. So they've kind of come into it and then gone, oh, what's this? Equipped lifting. Whereas I think before equipped lifting was the way in, and then you might have gone raw. So they're kind of going, or someone saying, oh, or people have got like old shirts and stuff like that lying around, and someone going, here, try one of these. And I think probably the biggest letdown for equipped lifting, I think it is just cost. It's just cost that if you are going and you are buying a shirt or a whatever, you don't even know if it's going to fit. Yeah. And it's a big layout. Whereas, if someone's passing you a hand-me-down and kind of going, oh, just get in there and have a feel for that and see what happens. It's not a massive outlay if you're paying 20, 30, 40 quid for a second-hand suit, as opposed to paying, close on 200 maybe for a shirt that you get and doesn't fit.
Yeah, and I think even then it's so complex, because I was reading Steve's article that he's written for the mag, because he's doing a series at the moment. If anyone is interested in getting into equipped lifting, read Steve McNeil's articles in British Strength Magazine, which you can subscribe to at britishstrengthmagazine.com.
Alex is also here for advertising.
And he was saying that sometimes you can buy a second-hand this, that, or the other. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was like, don't buy it second-hand. Certain things you just don't buy second-hand in equipped lifting. And I think it might have been a certain make, because I think it was definitely an overkill that you shouldn't buy second-hand, but there might have been something else. But there are downsides to even second-hand stuff, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
It might have been taken in for someone.
Stuff like absolutely that. Taken in for someone, but at least you kind of get to go, oh, does this fit, before you've actually got something, because they don't take it back. I'm pretty sure they don't. So I think it's just really do think it's an expense thing. Yeah. I think that equipped lifting probably is taking a hit just because of expense. Yeah.
It's way more complex in many ways, isn't it? I mean, like, so. Even sourcing the suits, like Ellie Steele in her interview, one of the things she said was trying to find suits for smaller female lifters is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like they're just not making them. Like, that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
I think it is fun though. Like, like I said, I've tried it. I've done a couple of deadlift comps in a deadlift suit. Probably needed more time to try to figure it out. But it is fun, like feeling that pop at the bottom of the lift, like that spring effect. Obviously it gets a lot harder towards the top, but I've even squatted in a deadlift suit a couple of times, and it is fun feeling like you're spring loaded at the bottom.
Very much so.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think I'll pursue it. I think Raw is where I'll stay. I came into the sport at the start of the Raw
revival,
uprising,
yeah,
and it's just something I have to finish. I've got a lot of work ahead of me too, so I feel like too much time spent elsewhere. There are benefits to be had from that, but I think it could just waste that time, that that 10-year gap that I talked about that I have now. I'm very aware of it, and I want to progress for the whole of it.
Is there anyone that you kind of look to for the word inspiration? For want of a better word, I'm going to use the word inspiration. That might be within powerlifting, outside of powerlifting. Is there anybody or that?
Do you mean like someone who is similar to me, who I'm looking at now, who I think's really good and not so much that I look up to them in awe or someone who. So all right, I'll do it in different ways. So Dan Green was a guy at the start. After I'd done that 260 sumo, when I tried it out in the gym, I just typed into YouTube sumo deadlift because I thought there'd be lots of instructional videos. There were not that many, but Dan Green, the video is called Untouchable Part 1, Dan Green. The track on it is Seether, Given, I think it is. And also introduced me to that band. And fucking hell, the hairs are standing up now. So nostalgic, that video, because I knew then that powerlifting was just what I wanted to do. Do you
think part of that might have been how he looked as well?
Yeah, he is jacked.
Yeah,
he's probably even more jacked now.
Yeah,
he looks like he's putting
he's
on
like
20 pounds
and
of muscle
strong.
on.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, yeah, this is it. And I was just like, this is, whatever it is about this, this is what I want to fucking do. So I couldn't wait to sumo deadlift again.
Was that like your powerlifting Van Diesel?
Yeah, but more so because the motivation was genuine. Even though I like the way Vin Diesel looked, I can't remember how he looked now. Do you know what I mean? I just have a feeling it had a fairly rugged physique. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a pretty boy physique. It was just muscular. But obviously the motivation was how the girls reacted to that. But with Dan Green, I just wanted to lift those fucking weights. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the way he lifted was so explosive. And just everything about it looked good. And then, like now, I look to as a powerlifter who I think is all round really good. Mainly his squat, but I like the way he does things. Kevin Oak.
Okay.
I
think he's developed. I think he's grown and matured as a lifter.
In terms of his technique and his...
I think everything. I think his technique, just maybe his all-round persona. I just think he's matured. Matured is the best word really I can use. Kind of, he's become a more complete competitor.
Yeah, he's less. His lifts are less. I don't want to. Are less raw in a bad way. Now they're raw, but they used to be raw and scratty and
reckless. He's
reckless,
yeah.
But now everything looks executed perfectly to one, to comp standards that you could pass at any strictness of judging, and two, just technically.
Yeah.
Like they look like they move better. So I like him, like his persona even. And someone from the UK who I look to, not even necessarily as a rival, just more as someone. Sam Bollins, actually.
Okay.
And I'm not like, this isn't even kissing his ass, but I see him.
I think he can do that himself. So Sam.
Maybe he does. He does a bit of that, doesn't he? But you know what? There's nothing wrong with having a bit of confidence.
No, not at all.
Look at Muhammad Ali. Look at the way he used to talk.
Yeah, I've got a lot of time for him.
Yeah. But like the way I see Sam, he's become a complete athlete.
Yes.
He prioritizes his nutrition. He prioritizes his sleep. He's wearing his CPAP now, and he's making sure that the sleep is of good quality. He has a high standard coach, and yeah, he's a complete athlete. And I
think he's a complete competitor as well.
Yes.
He tracks and monitors, again, very meticulous. I think there's definitely some similarities there, and that he does, and he tracks not just his nutrition, but he tracks his performance on platform and how well he does, and I think he's got plans. And I like the way that he lifts. I like his cockiness as well. I've got a lot of time for it.
He does actually back it up. And
yes,
he does what's necessary to make those gains. If Sam Bollins beats me, and Sam Bollins has been having 8 hours of sleep a night and has been wearing his CPAP, I've not been having 8 hours of sleep a night. Well, look, there's why, Alex. You're having 6 hours. He's been having 8. He's been getting to bed earlier. I
think what he does is very quantifiable.
Yes. Yeah. It's just putting all the parts together, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. All the variables.
So
I'm
going to I'm not going to kiss his ass any further, but I think it's good to not necessarily even in a rival way, because if you make it all negative about them, like I'm going to beat them, Just look at what they do and look what you can emulate.
But that's the thing, isn't it? That's about being competitive. To be competitive, you don't have to be nasty, and you don't have to be angry. You can want to beat somebody, without a shadow of a doubt. And I think, it's about being competitive. And for want of using a better word, you don't have to be bitchy to be competitive.
No, you do not.
You really, really don't. And I think that sometimes, you do see a lot of it in powerlifting, where there is a camaraderie and a competitiveness, and I think you get that in very, very few sports. Very few sports.
Yeah, where you can actually be nice to each other.
You can
still be.
Yeah, you can. And anybody that isn't is a bit of a bell end. Anyone that hasn't worked out how to be competitive without being a bit of an idiot about it, you need to go away and learn that. That's a skill.
Yeah.
That's a skill, and it's a personality trait. If somebody turns around and they beat you, well, they were just better than you were on the day.
You need to look at yourself. You need to be introspective. What can I do better? What is this person doing better than I am?
Yes.
Not copy them necessarily, because that's their training. You don't try and match what they lift in the gym, but what aspects have they got covered better than you? And also
what their motivation is. There's a lot of things, when people go out and they go and do something, some things can be really personal to somebody. They may have other stuff that's going on in their life, and that particular thing may mean a lot to them. And that just gives them that tiny, tiny little edge that you can never emulate. You're never going to get that unless you're in a similar, comparable situation. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Like me, I had a really good upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In terms of, both parents. I wasn't abused.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't bullied, apart from pushed around a little bit. It was
By
good.
The girls.
What?
By the girls.
yeah. Used and led.
Misused.
So I don't really have that much to be angry about. Do you know what I mean? I don't have that much in my past that a lot of people have in high-level sports, and I wrote an editorial about this, that drives them.
Mm.
And some people use powerlifting as an escape from depression and anxiety.
Yeah, very much so.
I don't have either of those.
No.
So, it's
almost like a negative drive, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a drive. I always find that's a
might
drive
only
towards
get
it.
you so far.
Yeah, I think it's a drive towards a negative, and to be, go out there, be angry.
It can be self-destructive.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I think it's a very double-edged sword.
So you can't use someone else's motivation, because it might not be the same thing.
No.
You have to focus on what you personally want from it.
Mm.
So I think you're right there. You can't try and. Some people they are insanely motivated, but it's something that you might not be able to replicate. Unfortunately,
and you might not be able to replicate it because you have other commitments.
Mm.
And again, we're going back to something called reality versus expectation. You can't train like a recreational trainer and expect to lift like an elite athlete.
No.
But you also may not have the time to train like an elite athlete.
Yeah. And
so by you have to reevaluate, reality, if you like, and say, right, well, actually, this is what I can expect from if I can only train 3 days a week for an hour. Well, you're only going to get those results. Somebody else who's going to turn around and go, well, actually, I have 6 days a week that I can put into this, and I have 4 hours of that day. Okay, they're going to get something completely different.
Yeah, and I mean, added to that, you might benefit from that so much more in the long run. You might, you can only train 3 days a week. You'll only ever be a top-level novice lifter or whatever, but your whole family life and your life and your health moving on might benefit so much more
agreed.
from the fact that you lost
be more balanced.
You lost 10 kilos.
Mm-hmm.
You brought your blood pressure down. You brought your resting heart rate down. You started eating better as a result. You found a hobby, which your kids went, oh, he's got a balanced life.
Yeah.
This is a good example.
Yeah.
He doesn't come home and have 6 cans of Stella every night. This is, my parents setting a good example.
Or the other extreme where they're at the gym, or they're at the gym.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're not doing that.
No.
They're just doing it as a hobby. There
are definitely pros and cons to all of it.
Yeah, it can be destructive if you take it too far. Relationships, family life, work life, fucking hell, if you You know what I mean? And then there's health. There's the whole thing of, do you want to be a super heavyweight powerlifter who's abused steroids for God knows how many years, and you die of a heart attack, and it's just way before your time. I mean,
actual reality.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sat here at 125 kilos. I'm not a million miles away from that example, but I'm aware of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're very conscious of it. I think so. I've never found you to be. Never thought you reckless. Reckless is not it's not a word that I would use to describe Alexander Clarke, the powerlifter. I definitely wouldn't use it. I would use reckless.
No.
I would definitely always say that when we first saw you lifting, it's kind of like, and I remember saying to people, he's going to be one of the strongest powerlifters in the UK. And I'm not going to be next week, but this is what's going to happen, because I knew you, and I knew, how, going back to just how dedicated I think you are to doing stuff. Once you get your head in something, then that's it. You're off, and you'll kind of get.
One thing I know about myself is that I can be consistent.
Yes.
I know that when I pick something up, it's like with the magazine. Like there'll be some days where I don't do enough, and I know I've not done enough. I've not put a social media post on, but consistently over time, I'm always just chipping away, making it more popular and more popular, and more opportunities are coming in. And it sounds like I've kind of like just made that a complete negative there, but I'm consistent with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's another one of my passions, as well as powerlifting. I think they're both. It's not like it's not gonna be. Neither are gonna be a flash in the pan.
No, I don't.
Because I will stay working on it always. Do you know what I mean?
So where do you see British Strength magazine going as well?
Okay, so like a big switch there. But in terms of British Strength magazine, where I see it going, at the minute, the big thing for me is to just, like I said, chip away, expand the reach, because at the end of the day, that's going to both benefit me, and it could potentially benefit the sport. It's creating coverage, creating something which, when people are reposted, they are happy to be reposted. When they're featured in the magazine, they're happy to. It's just, it might not be Vogue magazine or GQ.
It doesn't have to be though, does it?
But it's something that's always going to be there. Do you know what I mean? That you've been interviewed, that it's been published, and so in terms of when other people see it, I think it can expand the reach of the sport because of social media, and I'm not 100% up on the algorithms, but it can reach a long way.
Yes.
And I think it's definitely a positive for the sport. A lot of people tell me that it's a positive for the sport. So for me, it's just chipping away, making it bigger and better. There are opportunities, like I say, which are kind of coming my way with the magazine, just for it to like I say, without saying too much, it's not massive, but I can just tell that it's becoming more popular, more reputable, and it's taken a long time.
But there is in that consistency again.
Yeah.
And that is again kind of part of you, where you kind of go, right, this is what we're going to do, and I'm just going to keep doing it. And you probably have gained follower by follower.
Yes.
One at a time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of a business goal, because it is a business at the end of the day, a lot of people, like, I've had it announced at comp saying, he does so much for the sport, and I'm thinking, if you think that, then I'm really, really flattered. But at the start, like, I started this because I wanted to do something different for my income. For like 2-3 years, it wasn't even any income, and then it's had to be built up £3 subscription by £3 subscription, and it's still only a small income. Do you know what I mean? But I'm so grateful for the fact that it is an income, because I genuinely enjoy doing it. And I forgot what track that was on, but in terms of a business, it is literally subscriber by subscriber, and it's follower by follower. It's It's not like you say, going back to flash in the pan. It's not like I've bought any of these followers.
Followers now.
You know, I have actually clicked on a couple of people's fucking profiles, and all their followers, it's so weird, they're all from Taiwan.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, and they've gained 10,000 followers in 2 days. It's so weird. Like, they must
With
be
3
really
comments.
popular in Taiwan. Like,
Yeah.
they must be an absolute sensation. So yeah, it's whatever's going to be done, it's going to be done authentically.
I think that's a really good call, and I think that's probably, I'm not going to say what people are buying into. It's becoming a really nice, and I suppose you come at a time where social media is there, you know how to use it, and I think looking after, don't worry about the people who aren't following you, but not bothered about them. It's the ones that are, and the ones that are looking at what you're doing. You know, it's giving them good content for what they're coming looking for, because they're obviously coming looking for something.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the great things is doing, is featuring. There's when you post the video, I go and I pretty much see what everybody's doing. People who I don't know, but it's like kind of, oh wow, that looks good. That's amazing, and it's good to see what everybody's doing.
Yeah. To summarise, just kind of what you're saying there, it's all I want to do is what I'm doing now, but better. There's nothing massive planned. Like I said, people.
I like that plan.
Yeah. There's nothing massive planned, but I just want to do what I'm doing better. Like when I said sometimes I don't put a social media post out, I'm thinking a lot there of when I'm featuring people, I want to feature people more. I want to do more of those kind of little montage videos where I get 5 or 6 people in. I want to do those more frequently, because it looks now like there are more impressive things that I'm seeing. And I want to do more of that. I want to keep the magazine at a really high standard. Hopefully have some of the writers who we have now keep writing, because I like what they're doing. And if that can in some way help them gain some popularity, help them gain some business through writing good articles and people going, hey, I want to be coached by him, I want their whatever. I just want to keep doing that, to be quite honest. I guess when I was answering the question originally there, I was trying to think of some grand plan that I have. I don't have a grand plan.
Excellent. We like that.
I just want to do.
But it's pretty much how you train. Just going to be consistent and carry it and going in and doing it. Talking about that, remind me now, because I obviously haven't done any homework whatsoever. What was the lift that you gained 2.5 kilos on? Was it your deadlift?
It was a deadlift, yeah.
That I just think is. I knew how much it meant, and how much that 2.5 kilos, how long you'd been chasing it, but also how you didn't stop and you just carried on, and you're like, that's going to go. And we're talking 2.5 kilos. People are going, oh, I want X amount of kilos PB, and then if they don't get it, they're seeing their ass and thinking it's all going to shit. When you just kind of like, no, sometimes you just have to keep down. So talk us through your 2.5 kilo PB.
So basically, that 920 kilo total at the Northeast qualifier end of 2018, I believe it was. That was, you know what I mean? You total 920 in sleeves. You got plans to go into wraps. 920 in bare knees. You got plans to go into wraps. Obviously, you're gonna total fucking 1,000 at some point next year. Like, it's gonna fucking happen. With the progress that I've been making, right? So. Did your comp. Did Tattooed and Strong. It was like such a good weekend. Everything. Do you know what I mean? And everything was going great in the warm up. Like 310 felt like nothing. I said to myself, and I maybe said to another person, I'll pull 400 kilos today. 350 flew up like nothing. In retrospect, the way I got it up, I was too low, and because where the bar ended up near lockout, it was gonna make me wobble. I probably hadn't trained on a deadlift bar enough. I just trained on the stiff bar that I had. So basically, 350 went up like nothing. Right, 385. It's a good jump, and it's close enough to 400. Weirdly enough, Andy Smith, who I'm in a group with, said, fucking hell, I watched Yuri Belkin's 385. wow, this sounds like I'm blowing smoke up my own ass so badly. It's what he said. I didn't say it.
We'll just pretend Andy sat here like that. Though.
I said to myself, I messaged myself and said, fucking hell. He said, you know, off the floor, yours genuinely moved quicker. And then I don't know if you remember the lift, but it just literally...
Is that the one?
No. That was actually previous to that. Fucking hell. Just a quick backstory on that. I last equip comp I ever did, last equip deadlifted I did the Andy Borton deadlift challenge end of 2018, sorry. Before that Northeast qualifier, failed 380 twice, shot off the floor like nothing. But then it was like this weird hitch thing at lockout, mainly to do with the suit. And then the next one, I kind of semi-sumoed it because it was more reliable, harder, but I couldn't lock it out properly at the top, and I ended up trying to lean back to lock it out. I just fell over. Everyone laughed. It was quite funny. So yeah, then the Northeast qualifier came after that when I deadlifted more raw than I did suited, hence probably why I like raw lifting now. So yeah, then your comp, 385 got to like there, like mid thigh, like so quickly, and then it's almost as if like someone came behind me and just like gave me a little nudge on the back, and the bar just wouldn't move any further, and it was so weird. It was like my hips just didn't want to lock it out.
It was almost like it came up too fast.
Yeah.
That you didn't have time to anticipate the driving through.
And then the next one, I just wasted too much energy then, and I had like, you know, that negative energy in your mind of, well, you just failed it once. You know how these things go. You've been around the sport long enough to know that you might not get this one, and then it was just harder. The next one got to like around mid thigh again. The legs started shaking, and a lot of the time you just know you've not got it when that happens on a sumo. Next comp I did after that, I believe, was the WPC Europeans. I just wasn't very strong all round for that one. I'd had like a slight adductor tweak. I had really bad quad tendonitis, knee tendonitis at this point. Fucking like I had like 30 degrees of flexion in my knee, like after one session where I just kept pushing through. It was a fucking stupid idea. And then by the end, my knees were just in so much pain that it took like 3 weeks. I had to stop squatting for like 2.5, 3 weeks just to. It was the adductor as well, both of them. Anyway, so squat and deadlift were down. Even bench was down on the day, but I can't figure that out. But I deadlifted like 350 for my opener, went 370 next. Actually, I had Del calling my numbers, and he called great numbers all day.
Yeah, he's good at calling
and
numbers.
Probably held me back from what I would have called for myself, and got 3 for 3 on both squat and bench. And to be fair, 370 looked like it would have gone for my second deadlift. I wouldn't have got any more, but I just couldn't pull it. I just wasn't strong enough on the day. And if anyone looks back to that video, I kept my reaction in, which definitely would have got me disqualified from some comps. Just like a loud fuck, basically. If that was done in the IPF, I definitely would have got disqualified. But yeah, then the next comp after that, after WPC Europeans, it was Irish Pro, 350 opener again. At that point, I knew I was so far behind the running. Sam and Dan Stewart were both like totaling 1,000 that I just didn't give a fuck. So I was like, right, put 385 on. I want 385. Couldn't get it off the floor twice. Actually, like for the next time, I thought I'll just try anything. So Amanda Hillary, who used to be a client of mine, and she's a good egg, just all around good egg, and not afraid of some daftness. I said, "Can you slap me?" And she went on the back, and I went, "No, I want you to slap me in the face." So we did some practices, which I'm sure she was thrilled to get some practice slaps in her as well. And then just before the lift, I just said, "Fucking go mental, slap me in the face." It's kind of a weirdly nice feeling. I quite like it. I don't know why. Like not in like. Don't worry, not in like.
We're finding a little bit too much about Alexander Clarke here. This interview now.
Not in a kinky way. It didn't get me excited in that way. Definitely not. Just a nice little adrenaline. But I don't think it improved my lifting anyway. So I didn't get 385 off the floor either of my attempts. And then I remember saying to my coaching group chat at the time, I said, about the Andy Bolton deadlift challenge, I said it will be different this time. And it was. So I actually got 385 for my second attempt. Really hadn't prepared for 400, but it was the next logical step. But didn't get that. I didn't get 400, but I don't think I think mentally and training wise you have to prepare for something sometimes in order to actually attempt it and actually believe that you can do it. So yeah, that was the whole story, from failing 380 a few times, even 380, then going from that all the promise in November to having a full year without even like a hint of a PB, and for a 2.5 kilo PB. So yeah,
I've got a lot of time for little PBs like that.
Yeah. It's not, you know what, like
Yeah,
I
they
put
just
that video
creep up. They just creep up, and I think that. But I think sometimes as well, just breaking something like that, and I think acknowledging it, and kind of going, do you know what? I've been chasing that, and I've got it, and that's what I've been working towards. Because people can say, it was only 2.5. No, that 2.5. Do you know, if it's too heavy, it might as well be 200 kilo that's too heavy. If it's too heavy, it's too heavy. It's not going up. Just to know that you can move that 2.5, that extra little bit, you're kind of like, oh, hello, we're still here.
We're on the cusp of something. We're on the cusp of starting to improve.
Yes.
Because one of the things that I think changed with the lockout of it, Andy Smith, good friend of mine, started giving me advice on like how to, sort my knees out, and started telling me to do this couch stretch. It's basically just stretching all down here, all down from your hip flexor to your knee, both of them. And obviously, having that area looser is going to enable you to engage your glutes more. You lock out a sumo better. Lo and behold, it flew up, but this time,
instead of struggling at the lockout, it
just came through. And when you know you're on the cusp of something, 2.5 kilos can be as good, like you say, as fucking 200 kilos, because you know that you're back. And that's kind of why I posted it, because it was kind of like, I'm not trying to be inspirational. I'm not trying to be Lance Armstrong coming back from cancer to win the Tour de France. It was just kind of like, it was just nice for me to finally go from being like almost losing my performance gradually as the year went on, like I genuinely don't know what's happening here, to right, there will be improvements made.
And again, that's going back to that kind of consistency as well, isn't it? Of just kind of going, right, okay, back to the drawing block, right, okay, that hasn't worked, let's go and do this. And it can become super disheartening. And another thing that I always quite admire about you is you're a very steady individual. You're not prone to massive outbursts of joy, but neither are you ever particularly negative. I don't find you may have days that are better or worse than others, but you're certainly not a Debbie Downer, and you're not you never bounce around like Tigger. There's a steadiness
Definitely.
that is there.
I do become very negative in my own head for maybe periods of like 5 minutes, a couple of hours, until I'm willing to reevaluate. Like when something bad first happens, it's the end of the world, may as well drop out, and then like maybe sometimes it might take a nap or like a cup of coffee or both.
Just a nap and a cup of coffee.
And then I'm like,
cup of coffee after a nap, and I'm like, I'm all right.
They are the keys, though, aren't they? I think. Yeah. I mean, alcohol can give you those sense of positivity as well, but sometimes it's like delusional positivity, which doesn't always end well. But yeah, like once I've talked myself around and go, right, okay, maybe there's a way around this. That's kind of how I think. Yeah, I'm definitely not one of those people, and I think almost sometimes when you see people walking around talking negatively, I think this is probably why I shy away from people a lot. Like, I think you know me as an introvert, you know me as someone who's always had a small group of friends, and I think since I've, not on purpose, but I've isolated myself even more. I live in somewhere which, like when Sam Bollins came around, he said, this is very remote.
This is rural.
I was like, I don't think it's remote. but it really does suit my personality,
Mhm.
and I don't have to deal with many people on a day-to-day basis, because you know yourself, like, you speak to so many like negative people. Like, I think it almost, I know people have stuff going on in their lives, and I know maybe that's just how they've been conditioned to be, but like, do you not think it does a lot of other people a disservice to hear people like always talking negatively? Like, just fucking shut up, because you're affecting my brain here. Like,
And I think as well, we have a social
train.
we have a social politeness as well, don't we? In that we kind of don't. We're conditioned not to say anything, or to almost kind of like be polite rather than go, yeah, no, not having it.
Yeah.
And for me, particularly at a competition, anyone who came over to me with anything that was negative, I had no problem whatsoever, literally, to turn my back on them.
Even
and
if
go,
they're just
"Not
saying,
now."
like, if they're saying, oh, I'm not having a very good day,
Yeah,
this
not
is going wrong.
asked. Yeah,
I don't care. I'm here now.
yeah.
Like, don't come into my bubble
Yeah,
with that,
yeah.
because I need positivity or nothing.
Because and also, if you are coming over into my little bubble with that, then you've obviously got no problem. So I've not got a problem telling you to back off or just get away. Have a chat with you after. In fact, I don't even want a bit of chit chat. Don't come over and talk to me while I'm doing this. That obviously you can be
because
social.
It's wasted energy sometimes.
Absolutely. But yeah, and like you say, and also when you're training, and people, you can come in and they can drag you down. You just don't. Again, we're great. We've got earphones. We don't have to listen to it. But sometimes you do. But blocking that out then also blocks the positivity out.
Yeah.
Again, a double-edged sword.
And you can sometimes start to give the same reaction to people who might be offering you something positive, because you condition yourself to do that. So like you say, double-edged sword. And you got to realise that maybe not everyone is there to just cater to you having the most optimal training session.
Why not?
But at the same time, they should have the politeness to fucking know that you're
back off.
You almost view it as your job.
Yeah.
Well, I do now.
Well, it is.
Actually, it's both of our jobs. We made that the case in probably the last 10 years.
Yeah.
How we do.
How we pay our bills.
Yeah, it directly carries over. Like
Very
how I do
much
at a
so.
comp, in a way, even though it shouldn't, it will directly carry over to who approaches me for coaching, and that in terms of my following, that will expand.
I just go off the fear factor.
That will expand, and then I can proliferate the magazine from that. Everything
good
ties
word,
in.
Proliferate. That's a good word.
I use that one a lot.
Yeah, it's good word.
Everything ties in, so training is like the basis for everything. So here's my job. I'm definitely not saying that I'm a professional powerlifter, but it definitely carries over into both businesses. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, like we say, anything. If you're paying your bills with it, nobody pays you to do, but it's something that facilitates paying your bills. Then you have to take it seriously, don't you?
Yeah.
Right. I think we should wrap that up round about
I
here.
feel like, definitely not in a bad way, because I've got tons of energy still. Some conversations do leave me feeling quite tired. As is it's an attribute of introversion. Apparently.
Is it that I never feel tired then, because I'm not an introvert at all in any way, shape, or form? I don't think I'm an introvert. Am I an introvert? Sorry, sorry, dear listener. We're now talking about personality traits, and you want to hear about
this is
reps
interesting.
and stuff.
I find this
so.
interesting.
I do.
And I mean, they know that we're about to wrap it up. So if you don't want to listen to personality traits, then you can just turn it off now. But we're going to talk about personality traits for a couple of minutes. Apparently, one of the biggest ways to tell whether you're an introvert or extrovert is, do you feel tired after spending time around people, socialising with people, or do you feel energised by it?
Often, I will very, very often avoid. I can be very singular in a room full of people. I'm very comfortable being on my own and making myself very, very busy in a room full of people. Does that make sense?
I'm trying to take that in. Yeah, like
so. If it's a room full of people, I shouldn't be telling the general public this. Next time we're somewhere where there's a lot of people, I generally don't mingle with them. I'm very much on the outskirts.
Do you stick to people who you already know?
Yeah, sometimes I'm not very good at idle chit chat. Funnily enough, because we can sit here and talk for hours. But yeah, I'm not very.
It's not been small talk, has it?
No, it hasn't.
But
no,
I don't think that either of us would associate with either of us if we were small talkers.
no.
Neither of us really do we?
I'm a bit confused now.
Well,
but
what
yeah.
I mean is, like,
Yeah.
say
I think I do have a certain element of introversion. No, I think I've got a certain element of privacy. I think I've got a strong tendency for privacy.
you've got a is it a personal space?
Very much so.
Both,
Yeah.
I guess, physically and psychologically.
Yeah.
That you
But
don't
then I
like
can
to let
always be
people-
found sat on somebody's knee, which, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, that's a different story. We're getting back to that. So let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
This has been Tanya George for you for Radio British Strength Radio, interviewing Alexander Clarke here in Manchester. And it's been a delight. I think we should do a little bit more of this.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's been refreshing to be on the other side. I think it's definitely been easier.
Has it?
What did you find was easier? Interviewing or
They're about the
being
same for
interviewed?
me.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
about the same.
I think with people like you and Paul, it's probably equally easier, equally easy.
Mm.
People I don't know tends to be harder. Don't want to give away all the secrets to the listeners of how I'm actually feeling when I'm interviewing people. But yeah, it's felt very, very relaxed and easy to be interviewed.
I'm going to get a complete stranger to interview you next time. So if you would like... I know. Why don't you run a competition? So run a competition that, I don't know, whatever it will be, that the winner would get to interview Alex next.
How many people do you think could actually answer that?
They're probably...
Do you think it's the desire of many people?
to interview you? Yeah, maybe not. Okay, we'll wrap it up. Do you want to do your little where to find you and all the rest of it? Because I can't remember right now.
I mean, you know what? I'll do it one more time. If you would like to support the generation of future episodes of this podcast, head over to BritishStrengthMagazine.com and subscribe to British Strength Magazine. We have the brightest minds in UK strength sports writing for the magazine, and we have interviews with the UK's strongest athletes. And it genuinely does support the generation of future episodes. The money from the magazine is what is used to pay for the hosting, to pay for the travel, to pay for the equipment. So I'm not just bullshitting when I say this.
So, like, share, subscribe. Down, not down there, obviously, but down wherever it'll be, down here.
It will be down there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam.
No, thanks, that was fun.